Welcome, everyone, to the first edition of the World Crap Podcast, sponsored by Darren Ravel. Darren Ravel, you may hate our name. He thinks it strengthens our brand. I am your host, Bill DeFilippo. I am joined by my two colleagues, Jacob and Cameron. How you guys doing?
Great.
Wonderful.
It's fantastic. Well, basically, Jacob joked about starting a podcast. Cameron and I called his bluff. And, we're three dapper gentlemen who enjoy watching soccer and screaming about it on Twitter. So we figured why not find a way to possibly one day make this the next Men in Blazers minus the Britishness or the silliness or the World Cupcakes. So I think the perfect place to start the first edition of our podcast is with the United States men's national team, who I think we are all in agreement is going to win the World Cup, facing off against Azerbaijan in a friendly the other day. It was about as unimpressive of a 2-0 victory where one team had 70% of the possession, as you'll see. Guys, just what are some initial thoughts that you had of the match?
Sorry, go ahead.
We just did that.
Yeah, whatever. I can edit that out. That's the cool part. All right, so initial thoughts. And yeah, like you said, 70% performance or possession should be pretty solid, but it didn't look good at all. The two goals came off set pieces, which that's probably where a lot of the goals will come from this summer, but they're not where they should be coming from against the land of fire or whatever that stands for. I think the midfield didn't look as good as it could have. Josie played like Josie does. Wando missed sitters. Literally just everything you could imagine that would just break your heart heading into the World Cup. It happened, so not really encouraging.
Yeah, 70% possession is really misleading with this game, given the number and quality of chances they created. And it's just not convincing. They're not going to have that much of the ball against any of these teams in the group stage. So you've got to wonder what the point was in trying to do that in the first place. Like Jacob said, Josie and Wando were uninspiring, but I'm not convinced that the other forwards in the team are any better.
Yeah, well, listening to the broadcast, which was a mistake from the beginning, Twellman was asked, did Johansson state his case? 1 appearance, 1 goal on 1 chance, as compared to Wando's 5 or 6 chances, no goals, a bunch of headers right at the keeper. And Twellman's response was that, Wando had 9 goals and however many appearances he's had, but none of this is impressive. They haven't played anyone worth mentioning. Or at least none of his goals have came, I think, in particularly important situations.
He scored against Mexico in a friendly. That's something, right?
Yeah, and that game ended great.
Yeah.
End of the day, we don't have star forwards. We just don't. Josie can hold up play, kind of. He doesn't. Especially, it was something that we thought had gone away when he was in Holland. His seemingly lack of interest in scoring goals had seemed to fade, but then went to England, didn't really perform that great. Different league, obviously. And then you see him with the national team, and there are just times where he does not look like a forward. He does not look like he cares if he's the one if they score. He doesn't seem to be that interested in getting there. He does the hold-up stuff well, but he doesn't do the attacking stuff well.
Which is my question for you, Jacob, because you played as a forward growing up. What is Josie's best role? Is he best? Can he play best as a target man, or is he best with another forward where he can be one receiving the ball to feet and making runs?
I think he is best as a target man, and I would love to see him playing with more of a 10 in behind him as opposed to a
whatever Clint Dempsey is, which we'll get to.
Yeah, it's tough to say. But yeah, I think none of the forwards that we brought will play well with Josie. So if Klinsmann wants to play Josie,
Excuse me. We didn't touch it.
okay. Hey, Bill, can you hear us? I'll edit this out.
Yeah. I can hear you now. But again, just like throw me a message in chat when you're done talking, and I'll like figure something out.
Okay, sounds good. Dude, if you want to hop in at any point and interject.
All right, no problem. Well,
yeah.
It doesn't really help that I can't totally hear you guys, but
oh, man.
Just guess.
Just guess, all right.
So, all that being said about Josie, I think what we can say is Josie's going to play. Klinsmann wouldn't insist on continuing to start him if Josie wasn't going to play. The question will be at this point, Johansson versus Wondo, because it's clear that we're playing whatever that god-awful
should that be a question? We've had 4 years to find a system that fits
Oh, no,
Josie
I mean,
well.
It shouldn't be a question, but
yeah
it still is.
It still is. For some
that's still what he wants to do, and
Go ahead.
Well, Klinsmann, he is the kind of manager where he wants the players to dictate the formation, not the formation to dictate the players. So I kind of like that he's throwing it around, throwing out a 4-4-2, kind of letting that run its course, especially because what he wants out of his fullbacks, he wants 2 that can go forward, and he has 2 that are very good at going forward, and it works really well if there's a guy in the middle who can kind of work as a pivot man to kind of get the ball to them, get the ball to the guys in the wings, get the balls to his forwards. So I like the 4-4-2 in theory. I just wish it was implemented a little bit sooner. And also, we'll get to this when we go position by position, but at defensive mid, I'm not too comfortable with Jermaine Jones standing back there and having the entire defensive part of the midfield to himself, where he's the only person there, and he doesn't have the safety net of Michael Bradley to let him kind of take risks, let him run around. I won't run around a bit aimlessly, where he has the freedom to do basically wherever he wants and get to wherever he wants, because he knows any time he makes a mistake, Bradley is there. But what do you guys think about the 4-4-2? Do you want to see more of it? I mean, we've seen some really good out of it in the first 45 against Mexico, and it had its moments against Azerbaijan, but it wasn't consistently really good. Cameron, what do you think?
Not a huge fan of 4-4-2 ever, and Jacob will attest to that. But I do think that with this diamond, there's potential there, especially given, like you said, with the 2 fullbacks that get forward. I think that the main problem is finding the right pieces to fit those 4 roles in midfield. And like you said, I'm not a huge fan of Jermaine Jones as that defensive midfielder either. Especially when he started out last night launching 30-yard balls like Andrea Pirlo every opportunity he got. I think a much better option, even given his limited athleticism there, is Kyle Beckerman. That RSL plays that type of diamond midfield as well, and Beckerman will pick the ball up off the center backs. He'll play 1, 2, 3 touches and then get the ball off to one of the shovelers or into Alvaro Saborio as the number 10. And that's a whole other problem, is finding a number 10, because like we saw the other night with Bradley there, he's picking the ball up with his back to goal, and that's not what you really want from Michael Bradley. It doesn't suit his skill set very well. You kind of want him to be receiving the ball with the option to maybe turn a half turn or less, really, and have him be able to play balls forward. You don't want him having to, like we saw, play balls straight back to where he got them from. So I think ideally, and well, it's not really ideal, but having Bradley and Jones as the shuttlers and maybe Mix Diskerud as the top of the diamond, the number 10, with Beckerman as the holding mid, you lose a lot of. You lose quite a bit in dropping Bedoya and Zusi, but it still puts players in positions where, or it puts the undroppable players in positions where they can still do something halfway decent, I think.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Klinsmann has lied to us for however long he's been
Truther!
This was supposed to be like this beautiful style of soccer. He's had long enough at this point to put something in, and it's just not there. And I don't know if he's trying to just go so far the other way because he can tell it hasn't worked with just leaving Jones in there. We said Jones is trying to play those balls like Pirlo. Jones cannot do that. He absolutely cannot. And he's about as disciplined defensively as me. And that's not a compliment in any sense of the word. We've got we've got one undroppable player. It's Bradley.
Yeah.
For Klinsmann, I think we have 3, and I think it's Bradley, Dempsey, and Josie. I think for him, those are the 3 that he's not getting rid of, and we build around them. And if we're looking, and honestly, now that I'm talking about it, I think maybe Jones might be undroppable for him, the way he's seemed to feel the past few friendlies or games. So if that's our spine right there, we have to build around them. And wait, I just got lost. I'll edit that out though. This is beer number 3.
Well, but before you get lost again, let's kind of look at each unit of the team against Azerbaijan. We won't look at keeper because Tim Howard's back there. Tim Howard is beautiful in every way, shape, and form. One of the finest athletes to ever come out of the great state of New Jersey. But let's start with the defense, which to start it was Matt Besler and Jeff Cameron at center back, DeMarcus Beasley out on the left, and Fabian Johnson on the right. A couple of substitutions came in. We put Tim Chandler on the left, Cameron came out, and Omar Gonzalez came on, and DeAndre Yedlin went in on the right. What was the thing that really stuck out to you guys about our center backs, about either the starters' play or the way the substitutes came in and how they played? We'll start with you, Jacob.
Defensively, I don't know that there's much to be drawn out of this game. I think Azerbaijan had 9 shots, only 1 was on goal. They didn't really threaten that much.
Yeah.
I think what you saw was Chandler is probably technically our best player, our best defender. I'm not sold on really any center back pairing. I don't think we have any center back that's so much better than everybody else, unless you want to say Jeff Cameron. But even then, he doesn't even play center back for his club. Yeldon, however it's pronounced, fast as hell. I don't know that he offers much else, but if we're going into the group of death and we're looking for someone to add an extra prong to that attack, he's a great option. Outside of that, there really wasn't much to be seen. You would expect in a game like that where you've got 70% possession that there'd be a lot of involvement from the outside backs, and I think there was some. They definitely got forward, but you would expect them to be a little more dangerous than they were. Cam?
I think by far Cameron and Besler are probably our best center back pairing, given Omar Gonzalez's tendency to just watch the ball and completely drift out of play in terms of tracking runners and even his own teammates at points. and we saw that a couple times last night. Probably should have given up a PK there early in the second half. We'll edit this out. I got lots of notes. We'll go.
That's our podcast slogan.
Yeah.
We'll edit this out.
Tim Chandler's probably our best right back. I'm not. I would really like to see Fabian Johnson at left back, where he's able to use his natural foot and provide more natural width. You know, you can't play Chandler there on the left because he's going to come inside all the time. I've never been sold by DeMarcus Beasley at left back. I think.
Well, he's 140.
Well, yeah, he is ancient in the first place. But once you lose that bit of pace that he lost 4 or 5 years ago at this point, it's not, you can't make a transition from midfield to defense and expect to stay at the same level. Especially for a player who was so dependent on his speed like Beasley was. He has improved his positioning. He has improved his I guess, overall defensive awareness. But you'd still think that you'd want a natural outside back there rather than someone who has been converted. So I think ideally my first choice back line going into the Ghana game would be probably Chandler on the right, Cameron against Beasler rather in the middle, and Fabian Johnson at left back. I think you keep the aggressiveness in terms of the outside backs pushing forward, and as long as Beasler can stay composed, which was an issue against Azerbaijan, so it's going to be an issue against teams like Portugal and Ghana.
Teams that are worth a shit.
Yeah, teams that are not awful. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you guys said this, my connection's a little bit wonky. It's really hard to get a really good look at what your defense looks like when the other team is openly just parking the bus and they're keeping one guy at midfield and the other 9 guys are back defending. But I was really impressed with the play of Fabian Johnson. I want to see him on the left and Chandler on the right. I mean, DeMarcus Beasley is the oldest 32-year-old on the planet. He just, I literally just looked up his age. I thought he was about 36. He's 32, and I couldn't believe it. Center back is going to be an interesting position. I think Matt Beasler is our best center back. I think Jeff Cameron is Matt Beasler is our most consistent center back. I think Jeff Cameron is our most talented center back. He's just a little bit inconsistent, plus he's really a guy who can play anywhere on the back line or defensive mid, so it's really hard to get a read on what exactly he can do. And Omar Gonzalez is so talented. He really should be our best center back, and when he's on, like he was last year in the qualifier in Columbus against Mexico, he's brilliant, but he is prone to such mental lapses that it's really hard for Jurgen to trust him. But like we said, I mean, it's really hard to get a read on what this defense is. We're going to see a lot more against Turkey. We'll get to that in a second. But for right now, let's look at our midfield. To start, it was Michael Beasley at center attack mid, Jermaine Jones at defensive mid, Ali Bedoya on the left, Graham Zusi on the right, and when the substitutes came in, Mix Diskerud usually plays in the center of the central part of the midfield. He was out on the right, and Brad Davis came in. He played on the left. It was a little bit funky. Still toying around with that midfield. Jurgen still doesn't totally know what he wants out of his midfield, or else we would have played in the 4-3-2-1 instead of the 4-4-2. Jacob, what do you think about our midfield? Anything that really stuck out to you in the match? Any one that you want to see maybe get a little bit more run when we play Turkey?
I don't know that I'd necessarily care to see anyone get a little more run. Maybe Mix. I think depending on how Jurgen actually wants to play this when it actually starts. If he wants to do this diamond midfield, the 4-4-2, maybe Mix isn't involved as much. But if we are going to try and transition to something more of a 4-3-2-1, Mix should be one of those two, and in behind presumably Josie, being creative, making things happen. The way it's set up right now, I don't think Bradley's being utilized anywhere near as well as he could. He's unquestionably our best player. He's arguably, I won't say world class because I'll piss somebody off. But
no. I think it's fair to say he's world class. His only problem is he plays in MLS and for the United States.
Right. Yeah. That and Toronto FC, awesome. But that's all I have to say about that.
Jurgen Klinsmann would say the exact same thing.
But yeah, I think Jones. The argument against Jones would be that he can't pass the ball, and Beckerman is a much better distributor, which completely fair. I'd say my only counter argument to that would be we're not going to have the ball a lot this summer. We might against Ghana, so there may be a case to be made for Beckerman there, but I don't think Beckerman's a particularly better choice against Portugal and Germany, because when you got 35% of the ball, I don't give a shit how well your defensive midfielder plays the ball, because we're going to lose it at some point. They're going to swarm the shit out of us, and then we're going to have Beckerman old and slow and with his dirty-ass dreads slowing him down. And, at that point, he's a liability. So that would be the only argument I could make for Jones at this point. Outside of that, I think the guys playing on the outside are largely interchangeable. None of them has really stood out above the rest for me. They do. Obviously, they're not all the same player, but a lot of them have a lot of similar talents, and I don't know. It's hard to get excited about any of them except Mix. I like Mix. I just don't necessarily know that I want him playing as an outside mid.
Oh God, I'm going to be a New York City FC season ticket holder, and they're trying to get Mix, so I love that guy.
Really?
Yeah.
They just got Villa today, right?
Yeah. It looks
real?
like they're going to get David Villa. It looks like he's going to be coming over. They've been linked to Xavi, which would be unreal, especially for Mix's development. They've been linked to Frank Lampard, which is exactly the same. That oil money, man. The oil money and the Yankees money come together. But, yeah, I kind of agree with you when it comes to Beckerman and Jones. I think the two things that Jermaine Jones does really well, his ability with long passes, when he's really comfortable and in the zone, you can tell that he does that pretty well. He's not very good with shorter mid passes, but he can connect on some long passes, and his just overall physical ability, to quote Mel Kiper, is fantastic. He, against teams like Germany and Portugal, and to an extent Ghana, because Ghana is a very, very fast team, having a guy like Jermaine Jones in there who has the speed and the ability to get wherever he needs to go and slow the other team down, not stop them. We don't have anyone who could stop guys like that, but slow them down is an asset, especially because he's played against some of these guys over the Champions League and whatnot. I think what Kyle Beckerman has, he's a much smarter, much more calculated player than Jermaine Jones, but I think it's a lose-lose situation. I mean, if we were playing this match, playing the World Cup a year later, I would hope that we can maybe play Mix at center attack mid and Bradley back at center defensive mid if we are going with this formation. But I'm most interested in how our defensive midfielders are going to shape up come World Cup. What about you, Cameron?
Yeah, and honestly, I'll put this out there, but I think Beckerman and Jones are both suspensions waiting to happen, given Jones's propensity for picking up yellow cards and the fact that Beckerman doesn't necessarily have the athletic ability to keep up with the faster teams. I think they could both really quickly, really easily get drawn into situations where they're looking at game suspensions for either yellow card accumulation or, in worst case scenario, straight reds.
Oh, Jermaine's getting a red.
Oh well, yeah, that's kind of going without saying. But I really think you can't really play anyone but those two there, because if you take Bradley out of a more attacking role, there's not going to be anybody who's going to be able to link play for this team. And again, I think it does come down to the two shuttling midfielders, the two guys on the sides of the diamonds, and the fact that if they can't pick the ball up off of the defensive midfielder, and if Jones isn't looking for them in the first place, which he probably won't be, he'll be looking to just get the ball as far upfield quickly as he can. We're going to struggle even more with turnovers, and the more we're turning the ball over, the more the D-mids are going to have to be breaking up play, and in the World Cup, that's something you don't want to be doing on a consistent basis for 50, 60, 70 of the 90 minutes.
Before we move on to our forwards, one quick question regarding our midfield, and it has to do with Michael Bradley. What do you think is the role that Michael Bradley should be playing to best utilize his talents for the United States? Is it as a defensive midfielder? Is it as an attack midfielder? Is it something that allows him to have the freedom to kind of do whatever he wants, goes box to box? Or is it something where he kind of reins it in and plays it safe because the teams that we're going to go up against, particularly Portugal and Germany, have so much firepower? What do you think, Cameron?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Bradley as the number 10 because, like we said earlier, he's receiving the ball with his back to goal too much, and he's a player that is really our only player capable of linking the defense and the attack with quick passing, quick movement. And so when he's asked to play back to goal, it slows everything down. Ideally, I think since I think Klinsmann has the diamond here to stay, maybe Bradley would be best suited to one of the shuttler roles. It makes him less of a focal point, but if we're going to keep Jones and Beckham as a defensive mid, it allows Bradley to pick the ball up short from them and either carry or play the ball quickly into the attack.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I guess my only thing then would be who's playing ahead of Jones now.
Mix.
Yeah. Fair.
Or if you need a speed option, because apparently Julian Green is fast, maybe you play Julian Green there at the top of the diamond.
Now that would be interesting. I'd love to see that at some point in one of these upcoming friendlies, but I don't think he can just do that.
Well, right.
Hey, Bill.
Uh-oh.
All right, moving on to our forwards. I think that against Azerbaijan, there has to be a bit of an asterisk because it was supposed to be Dempsey and Altidore. Dempsey tweaks his groin, gets held out, nothing serious, but it goes from being Dempsey's kind of the guy who's out there being creative, setting things up for Josie. It turned into Josie having to come out. He had to be the creative forward, setting things up for Chris Wondolowski, who had 2 point-blank chances on headers. He should have had 2 early goals, one right at the keeper, one a little high. The keeper was able to tap over the bar, but still kind of at the keeper. The substitution that happens, Wando comes off, Aaron Johansson comes on, the Icelandic-American international, who's I love the hell out of this guy. He scores the easiest goal of his life, unmarked header on a corner kick. So I think, kind of like our defense, it's kind of hard to accurately grade our forwards for this match. So what was your biggest takeaway from the Altidore Wondolowski and then Altidore Johansson experiment? What do you think, Jacob?
So first of all, I thought for a second there you were going to hit us with a really cool nickname for Johansson because you started it with Icelandic.
Johansson?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the king of the north, like Game of Thrones.
King of the North. All right, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Okay, King of the North, Aaron Johansson. But no, with the biggest takeaway from the Josie Wando partnership is Wando sucks. That's his claim to fame has always been that he's going to get on the end of balls and he's going to finish. He's supposed to be this scrappy poacher, throw him on late, and he'll just kind of run into something and accidentally kick a ball in the goal. He's supposed to be a poacher, but the thing is, that was a stupid transition. He's supposed to be a poacher, but you can see that it's not 100%, and no striker's 100%, but you cannot get a free header like that in a international game of any kind and just put it right at the keeper. He was wide open.
Yep.
I don't understand. I've never understood the love for Wondolowski, but I've always heard that he scores. He scores goals. He leads MLS in goals quite frequently. But he'll get more chances. He'll probably, assuming Dempsey's groin is what we think it is, he'll be back hopefully by the next friendly. But Wando will probably come on as a sub at that point, and he'll get more chances. He'll stumble into one or two more shots. But if he's not finishing, there's no point in him playing. Johansson, small sample size, but he put it in. He got his chance and he took it. So
I definitely think that there is a role for Wondolowski in this team. That said, he should never be a 90-minute player, and you have to wonder, when Dempsey was injured last night, what Klinsmann's thought process was that led to him playing Wando from the start over an Aaron Johansson. Because you see Johansson had such an impact in such a short amount of time, and it was the same sort of chances that Wando had. Plus the effect that Johansson is all around a more effectual player. He'll do more than just kind of be off the shoulder of the last defender, ready to pounce on something. And I think he really would have been more of a like-for-like change with Dempsey in that it would have allowed Altidore to stay higher up, and Johansson could have come deeper and been a bit more of a creative force. The Altidore-Johansson pairing we saw in the second half was quite a bit like what we've come to expect from a Dempsey-Altidore pairing. Who's our fourth? Oh, Dempsey's our fourth forward.
Who's that guy? Never heard of him. Team new. Is that the guy they brought in to replace Donovan?
Yeah. Would be. I hate to say it, but the sooner Clint Dempsey is healthier, the better this team will be.
I know that hurts your heart.
It breaks my heart to say that. But the fact remains that you can't play Wando for more than about a 20-minute stretch, or you shouldn't be planning to play Wando more than about a 20-minute stretch.
Yeah.
Josie needs a more mobile partner to play. What we've seen from Johansson we've liked. The question remains, can he do it, consistently, biggest stage, all that cliche crap. And as much as I dislike the man, Clint Dempsey's done that.
And there's one little thing that I saw this with Josie. I'm not sure about you guys, but it seemed to me that Josie was doing everything that he really should have been doing. He was bodying up defenders. He was taking the ball down. He was very composed with his first touch or two. He moved pretty well. The only issue was with Wondolowski, and there's the other striker. Instead of Josie doing this right at the edge of the box or a little inside the box, he's doing this from 35 yards out. So despite the fact that he didn't score and he is in no way, shape, or form any kind of form that makes you 100% confident going into the World Cup, I was pretty pleased with Josie Altidore's play. I thought he looked a lot more comfortable with Johansson in there. That may just be because they played on the same club team together. Maybe it's just because he finally got the opportunity to do what Josie does instead of hoping that Wando could stand on the back post and tap something in if he gets a little bit lucky. And, of course, has to see how things are going to go with Dempsey in there. But let's look ahead a little bit. Sunday at Red Bull Arena in lovely Harrison, New Jersey, the men's national team will face maybe the best team that it's going to play in its tune-up circuit. It's going to take on Turkey, captained by Atletico Madrid's Arda Turan. Also feature Nuri Sahin from Borussia Dortmund and Burak Yilmaz from Galatasaray. What are you guys really looking forward to seeing in this match, whether it's tactically, whether it's in our formation, whether it's the players who play, whether it's the performance of the player, anything really that is going to catch your eye, Cameron?
I'm looking for certainly a more cohesive performance than the one we saw the other night, Bill. There were a lot of breaks in play, unforced errors that led to turnovers. I'm looking for a more composed performance, especially from the midfield. Klinsmann's always talking about how he wants this group to be a possession team, to play possession, and it really starts with the midfielders collecting the balls from the defenders, and then quickly transitioning that into playing the ball 1, 2, 3 passes amongst themselves, and then into the forwards. I think if I don't see Klinsmann making many changes in terms of personnel, so I would really hope that next couple days in training those guys are able to just get reps and work with each other a bit more, work on their choreography, work on their positioning and spacing, in terms of where Bradley wants to be when Jones picks the ball up from the center backs, or where Zusi wants to be when Bedoya has the ball.
Yeah, I guess I don't have much to add to that. I would say the two things I'm looking at are we're going to see a much more open game because Turkey absolutely has the players and the ability to run us over if it just depends on the day. I would say I'm interested to see how Jones looks against this team. He's going to have to be a little bit more disciplined in what he does defensively. That said, there will be more of an opportunity for him to play those long passes that we talked about earlier. There will be those runs from the midfield or deep opening up for through balls that might be there that weren't there against Azerbaijan because they just were sitting. Outside of that, I'd like to see Josie. I want to see Josie attack. We know he can score. We've seen him score goals. And I don't know, it almost seems like it's a mental thing. I can't speak for him, obviously. But I want to see him driving at the goal, not, picking up balls. When we're in the attacking third, I don't want to see him standing over on, one side of the 18, picking up balls, looking to maybe cross it. We need someone that wants to score goals. And right now it's not him.
Sorry, I got sidetracked looking at the score of the Thunder game. I'm of course our forwards. That's going to be a really interesting situation. I do think that we are going to see Dempsey not just as a forward. I think he's going to have the freedom to basically play wherever he wants from midfield on. In the midfield, I would not be surprised if we go with the diamond again. If Kyle Beckerman gets the start at defensive mid, just so we can kind of see what he brings to the table, what he can do. And then a little more of guys like Brad Davis, who I thought was very good against Azerbaijan, especially on set pieces, but that's the reason he's on the team. And Mix, who is all the talent in the world and could potentially be really good for us at the next World Cup. Our back line, I would not be surprised if we see Beasler and Gonzalez starting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Fabian Johnson and Tim Chandler backline to start with Beasley coming in. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to how the team is going to handle probably the best player that it's going to play between now and the match against Portugal in Arda Turan. So we're all very excited. We are looking forward to the next U.S. match against Turkey, then the one against Nigeria, and of course, finally the World Cup. Speaking of the World Cup, we're going to go through and do group previews.
Is that this summer?
I think so. The NBA Finals are going on, so I'm a little sidetracked right now.
Hockey's a thing, right?
I think so. Some team just won. Going into the World Cup, we are going to do previews of all three groups, say who we think are going to come out, just really trying to seem like we're a lot smarter than we actually are. So let's start with Group A. Brazil, of course, the host nation. They're the 11th ranked team of the world, 5-time winners. And a little fun fact, Brazil has not lost on its home soil since 2002, which is remarkable. Also in the group with Brazil, Croatia, who is 18th in the world and whose best finish is 3rd place in 1998. Cameroon, who is 59th in the world. Nothing too special there. And, of course, the Satan's favorite team, really the Lakers, the Cowboys, every evil sporting Manchester United of world soccer, Mexico, who's ranked 24th in the world and will ideally not score a single point or goal. What do you guys think of this group, other than the fact that Brazil is obviously going to go through and may go through unscathed?
I think, yeah, like you said, Brazil, they start again. Like you said, Brazil, basically we were just looking, Brazil's actually ranked 4th right now.
They are ranked 4th, okay.
Yeah, we just found that. I thought 11 sounded weirdly low because they've looked really, really good. Brazil, it's fun to get to start off talking about them because Brazil's strategy is just to be so much better than you. And that's what they've done for so long. They tried with Dunga, they tried to play this disciplined bullshit ass style, but they are so much better than everyone. And when they just decide to be better than everyone, it's awesome to watch. Neymar, top 5, top 10 players in the world, depending on what you look for in a player and who you ask. But I don't see them, unless they stumble against Croatia, I don't see them having any problems at all in this group. They're going to obliterate Mexico, especially if Mexico tries to give them any kind of game. Like Mexico last night playing with.
They're playing
Blanca,
against Israel? Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
playing against Israel. Blanca was their best player. I think he just had his 59th birthday. He's lost his hair and he's trying to pretend he hasn't. He weighs a solid 250 and he's like 5'2". There is no reason that he should be your best player, but he absolutely was. And if that's, they're going to try and play that kind of style where a player like that can be good. They don't have anybody else like that. They don't have anyone else close to him, and they're going to get destroyed. They will. Cameroon likes to sit back, absorb pressure, and attack you on the counter. I think Cameroon will upset Mexico. Mexico could go win this. And I hate the shit out of Mexico, so that could have something to do with this. But yep. I do believe everything I've said so far. I think Brazil goes through, Cameroon beats Mexico, Croatia beats Mexico. So then it kind of comes down to Cameroon and Croatia, and could be, I think that'll be a really awful game to watch. Cameroon sitting back. Luka Modric is a fantastic player, but I'm not sure he has the pieces around him to pick those locks. So it may just be him getting balls picked off and Cameroon trying to counter and just this garbage 50% pass completion, just terrible game to watch. I think Brazil versus just about everybody will be fun to watch because Brazil, they'll probably struggle initially against Cameroon, and then the floodgates will open. I think the Mexico game will get busted open early, and Croatia Brazil will probably be decent. But so yeah, I would say my prediction for that group would be Brazil, and I guess I'll take Cameroon. I'll take a little upset special there because there's really no way for me to pick what's going to happen in that Cameroon-Croatia game.
I think you can't look past Brazil in this group. Easily the strongest team, easily the best team. And they brought back Scolari to coach this World Cup. Scolari won as their coach in 2002. He's really brought together a group and made them a fantastic unit that is strong defensively, but also does the things you expect a Brazil team to do. Attacks with flair, does things very well on the ball. And it's a very tight-knit group. This Mexico team, holy crap, man, they're a dumpster fire. It was what, 4 years ago we were saying they would just destroy the CONCACAF region for the next generation or so, and that fell apart so quickly. Nobody predicted that. Cameroon, looking over their roster, they have a bunch of guys that are 32, 33. Their legs are gone. Watching their most high-profile player, Samuel Eto'o, this year for Chelsea, he can't run a lot, and his big thing when he was a younger player was speed. So if they are, like Jacob said, going to try and sit back and counter, they're only going to be able to do it 3-4 times a match, and they're going to have to be fantastic at it to score goals. Croatia has a very talented squad. Dario Srna, Luka Modric, Mario Mandzukic. Unfortunately, Niko Kranjčar was scratched last weekend. But you also have players like Eduardo, Nikita Jelavic, who I don't know why I just mentioned. We're going to cut that. Because he's awful. He's like 6'5" and shit.
No, I'm leaving that. No. That's staying in. Talk about Jelavic some more.
Yeah, talk about Jelavic. No, and Ivan Rakitic from Sevilla. There's a good group of attacking players there, and they'll definitely be able to score goals. The problem is, will they be able to keep them out? So I think, from my point of view, you would have to go with Brazil and Croatia leaving the group, because I think Mexico are a dumpster fire and Croatia are just old.
Yeah, I'm with Cameron on this. I think Mexico is going to crash and burn, barring Chicharito and Dos Santos doing the incredible, and I just can't see them doing that. Cameroon, I think so much of what they do is going to be based on hoping that Samuel Eto'o can catch lightning in the bottle one more time, can come out and really put on a big performance for them. And I think when you're putting all of your stock into a 33-year-old striker and there's nobody really to get him the ball except for maybe Alex Song, I just can't see them moving on. Although I do agree their match against Croatia is going to be terrible. Croatia has maybe, I won't say he is, but he may be the best midfielder in this group in Luka Modric. I hate Real Madrid. I love watching Modric. I actually think it's an advantage to an extent that they won't have Mario Mandzukic, I can't say his name to save my life, against Brazil in the first match. Kind of lets them not show their entire hand going to their matches against Mexico and Cameroon. Plus, it gives him an extra match to rest, gives them the opportunity to kind of work some guys in. So I think Croatia is going to be the team moving on with Brazil, and Brazil is a legitimate contender to win the whole thing. I have them going down in the semifinals, although the thought of Brazil playing in front of a Brazilian crowd in the World Cup final. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that. This is the opportunity for Neymar to really put himself on the map as one of the world's elite players. He's one of those guys whose name's thrown around. He's going to be great, going to be great, going to be great. And after a pretty up and down year with Barcelona, this is his chance to be great. And I think he's going to step up and rise to the occasion. Moving on to the next group, the group that you can argue pretty easily is the group of death, is Group B, which features the number one team of the world, Spain, who is looking to become the first team in history to win 4 straight major tournaments, 2 Euros, 2 World Cups. The big storyline with them is they don't have a striker if Diego Costa can play, and if Diego Costa can't play, he may incite a riot because he decided to play for Spain over Brazil. The other 3 teams in the group, the 3 who are kind of going to be chasing after Spain, Holland, the runner-up in the last World Cup, the number 8 team in the world, Chile, the number 12 team in the world, who is kind of a dark horse to really do some damage in this World Cup, and Australia, who is happy to be there. So, Cameron, what do you think about this group? I think it's safe to say Spain is going to be moving on. Who do you think moves on, then, out of Chile, the Netherlands, and, if you're feeling really frisky, Australia?
Well, I'm going to say Australia, then. No.
And I want to move myself.
Cahill is about to go so hard.
No, this is one of the stronger groups in the tournament, absolutely. You have 2 UEFA qualifying group winners. You have the third-place team in a very strong CONMEBOL group, and you have the second-place team in the Asian Federation. Absolutely, Spain goes through. Well, provided Spain have a striker, with Diego Costa being touch and go, it really looks like Southgate has stopped rating Alvaro Negredo and Fernando Llorente, which basically leaves Fernando Torres, which
hell yeah, hell yeah,
would be hilarious, but it's not necessarily an ideal situation considering they didn't call up forwards like Roberto Soldado, Alvaro Morata from Real Madrid, even though he's a youngster, could have gotten a shot. He had a very decent year with them. Spain's continues to be very strong in their midfield.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, understatement is what we do. Moving on to Holland, I really think they're the second strongest team in the group. Their most capped player in their provisional squad is Dirk Kuyt, so that's not necessarily ideal, especially given that Rafa van der Vaart was scratched last week with an injury. You'd think Arjen Robben would have to have a standout performance given the year he's had for Bayern Munich. I actually don't know their situation in terms of their forwards, whether they prefer Van Persie or Huntelaar. And you have to consider the Dutch tradition of just fighting with each other all the time in the tournaments. You've got to wonder at what point that comes into play. But you look at their midfielders; they have a very strong midfield. Pretty classy. Nigel de Jong is still in the team somehow. I don't know how that works.
Violent, possibly crazy.
Yeah.
He brings the brass knuckles.
Bailey Blind, Wes Schneider, Leroy Fair. But their defenders are very much an untested group. Their most capped defender, Ron Vlaar, with only 22 caps. The rest having significantly fewer. Although it does seem to be built around Feyenoord's back four. And Feyenoord had a very strong season in the Eredivisie this year. Chile, they have very popular players, certainly Alexis Sanchez, Arturo Vidal, but they have a very underrated defense, I think. You look at players such as Gary Medel from Cardiff, Mauricio Isla of Juve, I had no idea Jean Beausejour was Chilean. That's news to me. But there's people there. There's personnel in play there to have a very strong squad, and Jorge Sampaoli is a very attack-minded manager, and you'd have to think that this Chilean team probably not as suicidal as they were with Bielsa in 2010, but will be a very potent attack going into the tournament. Australia, there's not a whole lot to say there.
Tim Cahill's good.
Tim Cahill, you have players. Mile Jednak had a very good first season back in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. But there's also a lot of unknown quantities there. And so I don't want to say they'll be dark horses, but in a group as strong as this, you can never rule out the possibility of them getting points and going through.
So first on Spain, I'll say I think heading into the last Euros, we were saying they don't have a striker. What are they going to do? They don't have a striker. Well, they just said screw you and played with 6 midfielders and did just fine. So it's hard to worry too much about them not having a striker. This isn't the same midfield. Xavi's not the same player he was 4 years ago. But I don't see any way Spain doesn't get out of here. They're a damn wrecking ball. It's so frustrating. If you don't just absolutely love everything they do, you're going to hate everything they do. The Netherlands
that's
are
usually how it works.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's true. But there's no middle ground with Spain. You either enjoy this beautiful style that they play, and it's just them flipping you off as they pass the ball around you. We played with these guys from the Ivory Coast, and they would rainbow over you and just make helicopter noises and shit, and it was just so arrogant and so frustrating and so damn impressive. And you could only be mad, but you couldn't get mad at them. You could just be mad at the fact that you were garbage. And that's how I imagine professional athletes feel playing against Spain. Like, they are making helicopter noises and just passing the ball around you. The Netherlands, I think I loved the Netherlands in 2010. Loved Wesley Sneijder. I feel like they're due for just absolutely shitting all over themselves this time. I don't see any...
Well, they did that in last Euro.
Yeah, they did. And I think they're going to continue that. I think they can keep it up. I believe in them. Good team. They've got plenty of good players, but it's not the same team that it was in 2010, and I don't think it's anywhere close to the team it was in 2010. Chile, I think we can't discount the continental advantage that's been prevalent in past World Cups. I think South Africa the first time that someone from that continent didn't win when Spain won. I'm probably making that up, but it sounded really, really good. I think Cam touched on most of the players, but they're going to be an exciting team, and I think they'll break down the Netherlands. I think they'll destroy Australia, and they just have to not physically die against Spain. Australia, did you guys ever see that Mary-Kate and Ashley where they went to Australia? That's all I have to say about their soccer team. Which one was that? Because I started trying to remember what that was.
I don't remember, but I remember there was one scene where their parents got in the car and they forgot that the wheel is on the other side, and they get this really confused look on their face. That's all I remember about that movie.
I remember Vegemite. I remember learning about Vegemite from that movie, and it's just like peanut butter and shit mixed together, right? I can't.
It's like the inside of beer barrel is scraped or something disgusting like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would eat that. That's who wouldn't eat that? Now it's gonna bother me. It's not Passport to Paris. It's like Land Down Under or something. No, that's what. But anyways, yeah, Australia maybe gets a goal, doesn't get any sort of point anywhere close to anything, and I cannot wait to listen to this again and hear myself say the group.
God, I'm trying to find the name of this goddamn movie, and I just can't do it.
It's
Hold on, filmography. It wasn't Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
no, it wasn't that.
Was it Holiday in the Sun?
No, that's the Bahamas one. Hang on.
Sad you know.
Do you have?
Getting there. Was it
No,
Getting There?
It's definitely not getting there. It's not The Challenge.
Oh, God. We are going to get judged so hard for this. It wasn't
Hang on. I'm going to Google Mary-Kate and Ashley Australia. You guys are going to IMDb being creative or whatever. Mary-Kate and Ashley Australia. Our Lips Are Sealed!
Oh, yeah, they were in the Witness Protection Program or something.
Yeah!
Wait, what?
They were in the Witness Protection Program. That's why they moved to Australia. And then those dudes just randomly found them in Australia.
Oh, God. That was the worst.
Listen,
Yeah.
there was a lot of plot holes in Mary-Kate and Ashley movies, but the themes were solid. The themes were very solid, and that's really, if you take nothing else away from listening, that's important. You need to watch Mary-Kate and Ashley movies. Your kids need to watch Mary-Kate and Ashley movies.
I think if I go to Walmart tonight, I'm definitely going to go into the $5 bin and see if they have any of these.
Oh yeah, no. There's a lot of really good ones.
Oh, God. This broke down so quickly. All right.
You guys had me focused and talking about serious things for, like, over an hour. I was going to get to Mary-Kate and Ashley movies at some point. It was just going to happen.
All right, let's get back on track really quickly. We're going to be done pretty quickly. Spain is Spain. They're going to be fine. Their third best keeper, David De Gea, could be the number one keeper for many teams in this tournament. Their 5th through 8th or 9th midfielders could be the best midfielder for a lot of squads in this tournament. I'm a little worried about their defense. It has the star power, but Ramos, Piqué, they're always prone to little lapses in concentration that lead to some kind of error happening. A little worried up top, although I really do want to see what happens with Diego Costa going back to Brazil. Chile and the Netherlands, I think that's going to be an absolute war. I am going to take Chile narrowly. I think the South American advantage, I knew I was going to do that eventually, is going to help them out. I think Arturo Vidal is a gem that not enough people know about. Alexis Sanchez is about to have a monster World Cup. Their team is solid. I think they'll get through to the next round, but they won't go much farther. Netherlands, I hope they try and fight Spain again. Australia, I wish them the best of luck, and I really hope they have like some cool like gift baskets or something for runners-up. Moving on to Group C, which in our little Google Doc where we outlined this entire program, which could be yours for the low price of $29.99, is called the Group of Z's. It is Colombia, which is, well, it says the 4th-ranked club on earth, but they're not that. We'll update that.
They're 5th.
They're 5th? 5th?
Yeah.
Greece, who has been playing the exact same style of soccer for God knows how many years, which is you're not going to score fewer goals than us. The Ivory Coast, which has, as a Manchester City supporter, I think the best player on the planet in Yaya Toure, and Japan, whose women's team bounced the U.S. women's national team from the last Women's World Cup. I'm still not over that.
Japan sucks.
Yep. Jacob, how do you see this group playing out, especially with the looming situation with Radamel Falcao, where he may not be able to play for Colombia, easily their best player?
I think this group really sucks, and it's taken me a minute to get back focused, but this group is terrible. Japan, they've got Keisuke Honda still. He hasn't. Is he still playing soccer, or is he just coming back?
Milan, isn't he? Well, I don't know if he's playing at Milan. He's at Milan.
Yeah. I was really excited about him going into 2010, and that's because I had FIFA, and I like taking free kicks. Like, those were the two big things. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, Keisuke Honda, he's a superstar. But nothing about them excites me. They don't play a bad style. Honestly, they're probably similar to the U.S. in terms of talent, but I'm not excited about the U.S. team either. So, outside of them, yeah, Greece. Greece plays about as beautiful as their economy is.
Boo.
Hey, I'll edit it out. I don't give a shit. Ivory, Ivory Coast. Yeah, they've got Yaya, Drogba. I don't want to say anything negative about him because I still am afraid he'll sneak in and kill me at some point. Colombia, I think they're fine without Falcao. They are obviously. Colombia can make the semifinals with Falcao. Even without him, they get out of this group easily. I think it's Colombia and Ivory Coast coming out of here, and I can't imagine any of these games will be worth watching. I think Cam literally fell asleep.
Sorry, I thought we were going to go back to Bill and then he'd throw it.
No, go for it.
Okay.
This group is that bad.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad group. Well, maybe not as bad as I thought. Greece, obviously, just horrible. You look at their players; they're not exactly a dynamic team. They're not exactly a team that's going to do much other than try and play on a counterattack, and their forwards are older and haven't had the greatest success in that recently. Looking past Radamel Falcao for Colombia, you've got players like James Rodriguez from Monaco, Jackson Martinez at Porto. That's a very talented group. I don't think they're going to miss Falcao, even as good as he is. Moving on to the Ivory Coast, Yaya's a fantastic player. Didier Drogba is old, and I'm not sure he's going to have the impact he used to be able to have. That said, they still have a very good group of forwards with the season Gervinho had at Roma. Wilfred Bony at Swansea, and Seydou Doumbia and Lassina Traore. But I don't see them getting out of the group because I really think Japan can be a dark horse here. There's a fairly talented group of players there that I think play a very cohesive technical style that they are kind of want to do, kind of like the women's team. And actually, the men's and women's programs are remarkably similar, which you don't see a lot. But you, like Jacob said, you can't look past Keisuke Honda. You'd have to think Shinji Kagawa will be out for blood given the season that he's had. He's got to go out there and show his country and the world that he is not just David Moyes' bench bitch.
Ooh. That was mean.
I thought you were a City fan, Bill.
I am a City fan. That's still mean.
and I say that even though I like Shinji Kagawa, but he could not catch a break last year. And I'm really hoping that maybe he's able to do that here this summer. So I think my choices to get out of the group are probably Colombia and Japan. Ivory Coast narrowly missing out, and Greece bottom of the group.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit of a risk. I think Colombia is very talented. Up top, they have the ability to just shred teams. You guys have kind of covered it all. I'd be very surprised if they didn't make it out. Greece, ew. Ew. Like, if a team scores 2 goals on Greece, if a team scores 1 goal on Greece, there's nothing Greece can do. They're the one team on the planet that actively plays for draws. It's incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 1 or 2 points just off of getting draws, but I don't see any way to get out of this group. Japan, I love Honda and Kagawa working together in the midfield, but I'm going to go with Ivory Coast. I am letting my love of Yaya Toure think that he is going to carry them out of this group, especially with the firepower they have at striker. I also think Drogba won't be Didier Drogba, but I think he's still going to be a very good striker. Really, the guy that I'm looking at mostly with them is Kolo Touré, just because he had a brutal year at Liverpool. Just a really, really bad year. And I think he is going to really want to prove himself, especially against Greece and Japan, who not exactly teams that have a ton of firepower. I wouldn't be surprised if Ivory Coast, just on the strength of Drogba and Yaya Touré, make it out. I think it's going to be Colombia and the Ivory Coast. That's really it for our group previews this time. Next time around, we will take a sneak peek at groups D, E, and F, which features the international superpower that is Switzerland. With that in mind, we're going to move on to our final segment of today's show, which is the tweet bag. We asked for some questions on Twitter, and several people answered. There are a couple serious questions here, but there are also some very silly questions, like our first question from the Farmer Jones, who asked, "Why is Bill?" I think I'm the one that is best equipped to handle this question, gentlemen, so if you will. I don't know. Moving on to our next question from @JordanBeck_6. What are the chances that Graham Zusi wins the Golden Boot? 100%, 99%, or 99.9%? Jacob, you really have three options here, but I am going to go out and say that you are allowed to make up your own number with this one.
I think Zusi. No, that's all I have to say. He'll play in at most 3 games. Yeah, obviously this question was asked jokingly, but no.
Are you sure?
I mean, I can't be sure, but I'm going to say it was. I'd say if he did win the Golden Boot, I will be developing a cocaine addiction after the World Cup. Because it's going to be so much fun.
Oh, yes. Cameron, what do you think about St. Zusi's odds of going out on top in this World Cup?
Well, his odds would be a lot better if he had someone like Landon Donovan supplying him balls.
Ooh, girl, you went there. You went there.
That said, I think that Graham Zusi's chances without Donovan are 0. But if someone in the national team were to get injured and Donovan were to go, Graham Zusi's chances would obviously be over 9,000. He would score a hat trick in every game of the group stage, and the United States would still lose like 5-3. But he'd score 9 goals. He'd instantly be in like the top 10 World Cup goal scorers of all time. And it will be a lot of fun seeing Jacob develop that cocaine addiction.
You just outlined a really kick-ass scenario. Zusi's just doing this ridiculous shit. The U.S. is losing. Nobody cares.
It's Graham Zusi is out there repping Kansas City.
Making helicopter noises.
I will put the odds at a very low 3% just because I think the remaining 97% have to go to Aaron Johansson.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next question. From @StewDeBaker 2013. I am a hopeless optimist and believe we will make it past the group stage. Tell me why I'm right. Stu, you should be very glad we're answering this question because it was not asked in the form of a question, but we are going to tackle it anyway. I think you're right because no other country in our group has freedom. We are the only one with freedom, and we have a freedom overload, and we are going to go out there and just freedom the shit out of everybody. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. If freedom is something that plays into this, I think the U.S. has a pretty good chance. I'm not sure to what degree freedom will affect the outcome of the game, but we're doing this shitty podcast over Google Plus right now, and that's pretty damn free. So yeah, no, the U.S. has a really good shot. Yeah, you've changed my views.
God.
The United States certainly has a lead in intangibles, don't they?
Heart, grit, hustle, and freedom.
I'm sorry, Stu.
We really should just have 11 Aaron Crafts out there if that's what we're going for.
Side note, Bill and I shared a fist bump in the Ohio State student section when Aaron Kraft just kind of dropped that three-point shot in the Big Ten tournament this year.
Against Michigan.
It was so touching. It was a beautiful moment.
All right, so America. Speaking of America, our next question, Quint Dempsey, number one player in the world or number one player of all time? That comes from P Knocker 40. What do you guys think? Number one player in the world, number one player of all time, or does Quint Dempsey exist in a realm outside of that of normal human comprehension like Lance Stevenson?
I'll take that one. Clint Dempsey's awful. He is trash.
Cam hates Dempsey. I forgot to tell everybody that.
Number one player in the world. Maybe if he was like decent at cards or something. He's certainly
nailed it. You got him.
Certainly not a number one soccer player either in the world or of all time.
Bill Simmons loved that reverse jinx. Jacob, what do you think? Where do you rank Clint Dempsey among world footballers, if you will?
Football.
Oh, damn it.
I said footballers. Footballers.
Footballers. Okay.
As they're known.
That's the same thing. Yeah, no, I guess I'd say that the game took hold like the roots of a tree. Think soccer ain't a sport, then why'd Nike sign me? I'm sorry.
Jacob, do you know what you're not doing right now?
What am I not doing right now?
Treading.
There you go.
I'm not treading. I'm not at all.
Don't
Listen,
tread.
and I know I tweeted this the other day. When I was 16 years old and my car only had a tape player, but I had a stereo in my room that I could transfer from a CD to a tape, I burnt a CD of Don't Tread, put it on a tape, and you could not tell me shit as I drove to soccer practice, just listening to Don't Tread every day. Same song every day, and I would just rewind it as soon as it was over. So, yeah, no, I guess I would say greatest player of all time.
Oh, God. After we win the World Cup and he mounts an eagle in the name of freedom and rides home from Brazil, it's going to be beautiful. Next question from @spread_eagle_17. Who's going to win the big game? The answer is the Baltimore Ravens because they have Joe Flacco and he is elite. Next question from @DogsWithHats. What are y'all's personal rankings of Kanye albums? This is a very dangerous thing that we are going to be discussing and more controversial than what Cameron just said about Clint Dempsey. So how do you guys want to approach this one?
Well, Yeezus was really good the first 3 times I listened to it, but it's terrible.
Great live album.
No. I'll take your word. I'd say Paris yesterday. I agree with him completely because that seemed to piss some people off.
Right. Well, we're not going to touch this one with the 10-foot pole. We'll leave this one for Twitter the next time a Kanye thing happens. Next question comes from @Middle1020, and I have a really good answer for this one. Over or under 0.5 times Ronaldo has his shirt off against the USMNT, #AskJacob. The answer is 1, because he is going to exchange jerseys after the match with Fabian Johnson after Fabian absolutely locks him down the entire time, and America wins 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that could absolutely happen. There are an infinite number of possibilities, and that is one of them. That said, he takes his shirt off at some point, because I just need some...
You can grate cheese on those abs.
Yeah, I don't... It's just... I don't...
That works.
Listen, if we could get really weird with this, the best that we don't.
Look at that.
Yeah,
all right, everyone, we're just going to say, look at that cover of Vogue that he was on with his girlfriend. He's very handsome. Moving on.
He's a beautiful man.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. Moving on to our next question. It's a two-parter from @Blurms. Question 1: how do I make my hair do the mixed hair flip? I don't know. I'm guessing some combination of like berries and whale oil. I don't have much hair to play with. Jacob has more than I do, so he'd probably be the person to ask.
You got to work real hard. If you can dream it, you can do it. It is currently past 11:30, and I'm running out of thoughts. But yeah, no, I think if you believe in yourself and you work hard enough, you can do the hair flip.
Cameron, any advice?
Just echoing what Jacob said. It's all about putting the work in and growing that hair out and doing stuff with it and then just flipping.
Good stuff. Way to present a united front. I like that.
There we go. And question 2 from Blurms. This is actually a serious question. Does the U.S. make any significant adjustments between Ghana and Portugal, considering the differences, namely Cristiano Ronaldo? Cameron?
Damn it, we had to go and get serious. I think that Klinsmann is fairly set in his first 11, and once he gets it, he's not going to change it much. That said, I certainly think there are adjustments that could be made if you're looking to stop Ronaldo, but if you play to stop Ronaldo, Portugal has other players that are just going to open you up.
Yeah. Jacob?
Yeah, I think the change you would look for there would be probably the left back, and I don't see that changing once we get Fabian Johnson there, hopefully. And even if not him, if it's Timmy Chandler, I don't see that changing between Ghana and Portugal, because those two are probably our best chance to deal with Ronaldo, if that's the one thing we're worried about there.
Really, the only way I can see any kind of change being made going against Ronaldo would be if DeMarcus Beasley starts a left back against Ghana, because Ronaldo would just tear up DeMarcus. So I would think we would need to see Fabian Johnson. And I think Ali Bedoya he's not a great defender, but he's very solid at getting back. So I think if he is on whatever side Ronaldo's on, we're going to see Ali Bedoya coming back and supporting whoever the defender is against Ronaldo. And you're not going to stop Ronaldo, but you got to be able to slow him down. And if the United States can slow him down, they have a chance to get either 1 or 3 points against Portugal. Our final question of the evening comes from @NicoRegNVA. Who wins the Golden Boot? I think Ballo has a real chance. And to that I say, the success of Italy, I believe, is directly tied to the success of Mario Balotelli. So if Balotelli is in the running for the Golden Boot, that means Italy is going to be in the running for a title. But as for the person who wins it, I think this is going to be Messi's World Cup. I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but I really do think that we are going to see Lionel Messi tap into his well of talent in an attempt to shut up absolutely everyone who criticizes him. Where are you guys going with this?
I don't care for Barcelona at all, but I would like to see that happen for Messi, because he has been a fantastic player for the past 50 years, I think, roughly. And he does still catch crap about his performance on the international level, and I think, first of all, that's ridiculous, I think, and second, I'd like to see him just shut everybody up, like you said. That said, I think Brazil's going all the way, and I think Neymar will lead them. And so I'm going to lean Neymar on this one. I think he could have a really, really special World Cup playing at home in front of the home fans, and having his coming out party.
Woo. Cameron?
Graham Zusi. No, but in all actuality, I think I'm with Jacob on this. I think that this is probably going to be Neymar's World Cup, even as much as I think we'd all like it to be Messi's. Although
They can be both.
It could probably be both. It could be. It could also be a dark horse. Wasn't Wesley Sneijder joint top scorer with 5 just fluke goals last time? So, and I think that's even more likely that it'll be somebody like that, just having a, random couple good games in a row.
All right. Well, that is it. Painstakingly for the first edition of the World Crap Podcast. We will be back sometime either after the match against. Hold on, killing a bug. Either after the match against Turkey or after the match against Nigeria. Definitely at least one before the World Cup, maybe two. Not 100% sure. And then we'll roll these out sporadically throughout the World Cup. Any parting thoughts from either of you guys?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, but if you are hearing this, thanks for listening. And if you've got any advice for us, let us know. We want to do better. And yeah, no. Passport to Paris is also really good.
Cameron, anything?
Thank you for listening. Graham Zusi Golden Boot winner 2014.
Well, let's really hope that happens. For Cameron Victor and Jacob Price, I'm Bill DeFilippo. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you all soon, hopefully. Roll Tide.